Hi everybody, my name is Bree and welcome back to my channel, Bree's Arts. So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to all of my new subscribers. I've only been on YouTube for about 4 weeks now, and I've already got over 100 subscribers. So that is really, really exciting for me. So thank you so much. You don't even know what that means to me. And secondly, today is so exciting. I am taking part in my first Try It Tuesday, which is hosted by Sammie at Unicorn Dust Designs. Today I will be trying out a few other YouTubers' crafts that I've seen and that I've saved and that I have been dying to try out. I have, of course, put my own spin on each one, so I really hope you enjoy these. And with that being said, let's just jump right into the first DIY. All right, DIY number 1. So this one is from Sammie at Unicorn Dust Designs. She did this at Christmas time, but I figured I would do my own spin on it for spring. And I have these 2x4s. I love these because they have a little bit of the live edge on them. My boyfriend was just going to throw them out anyways, so get to use them for this project. And I'm going to take some of my white chalk paint by Waverly and we're going to give it a coat. Now, it's just a rough coat. Doesn't have to be full coverage. I want it to look rustic, bring out that natural wood a little bit. I did go over the bark just to give it kind of a dry brush. And I did do all of the sides, so all 6 sides, front, back, sides, bottom, top, everything. And give it a little sand with my sanding block, just to again bring out some of that wood color underneath, make it look nice and rustic. And now some of this burlap from Dollarama. I am going to cut these into strips, and it took a couple of tries to get the right width that I wanted for it. I did cut it a few times for each one, and it does not have to be perfect. The rough edges and whatnot just add to the texture and the rustic nature of this piece. And just clipping it down with my scissors, hot gluing it down because it did curl a little bit. Burlap is really messy too. I was covered in fibers from it. So here is a shot of all 3 of them with the burlap on there. And now I'm taking these little lavender picks that I got at the Dollar Tree. And I couldn't decide if I wanted 1 or if I wanted 2, but I did decide on 2 for each of them. There's actually 6 on each one of these picks, so it worked out perfectly. And taking some twine from the Dollar Tree, I am going to wrap that around the center of each one of these 3, 4, or 5 times, however many you want. And the nice thing about this too is that you can change those out if you want to for the seasons. And taking one of these bird wooden cutouts that also I got from Dollarama, just to give it that extra touch in the middle, I'm going to hot glue a bird to each one of these. Just adds to this spring motif that we're going for with these pieces today. And there are 3 different birds in each package as well, so again, worked out perfectly. And here's another shot as well of me taking the lavender and the twine, wrapping it around a few times in the center, tie it in a knot, and then of course clip it off and add that cute little bird. So thanks to Sammie for giving me this inspiration for this piece. I just love it. It was so hard to choose just one from her channel. Okay, DIY number 2. This one was inspired by DIY Home and Crafts by Jazz. It's that little cutting board. So got the cutting board at the Dollar Tree. And I am going to take my black paint by Folk Art, and I will be giving the cutting board 2 coats. Now the chalk paint doesn't stick to the plastic as well as I would have hoped. When you handle it, sometimes the paint chips off a little bit, but we will be going over the whole thing with Mod Podge, so that does seal it in a lot better. Now getting the edges and the front and the back, and taking this sticky paper that I got at Dollarama. It's really cool because there's a whole bunch of different wood grain patterns of this sticky contact paper. The one that I chose is blue, and I'm just marking off where I want to cut the paper because it is only going to be on the bottom half. Now I'm going to grab my paper cutter and just line that up, and we're going to cut a small piece off here, and then I am going to cut it again because I didn't want it to take up too much of the cutting board there. So cut it down to size however you like. Now you can see here that the corners of the cutting board are rounded. So I took this little cutter that I got a bajillion years ago from a company called Creative Memories, and I just cut off the edges to round the corners off there. It works like a charm. Like I said, I've had that little corner cutter forever. I used to scrapbook when my kids were little. And then I just take that contact paper, take off the backing, and line it up nice and straight. And it just smooths right on there. I really like this contact paper. It's so pretty. Now here's where I struggled a little bit. So I cut this decal out on my Cricut. It's the same as what Jazz used on her cutting board. It says Bon Appetit, and evidently I did not allow the paint to dry for long enough. So you can see here the last T in Bon Appetit, it kept on peeling up, and it started to peel the paint up as well. The rest of the decal was fine. It was just that last T that was giving me trouble. And so it pulled up some of the paint and the tea along with it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, yeah, it came off. It came off. So try to line it up again. And there was no getting it back on. So I just grabbed my weeding tool and pulled the tea right off of the contact paper, or the transfer paper. And then I try to just stick it on there. And of course the adhesive on the back of the tea was covered in paint, and it absolutely would not stick. So trying to line it up as best I can. And then I grabbed some of the paint, and I did have it lined up pretty well. So I thought maybe I can just go around the T and just like fill in where the paint had come off. And it just, my paintbrush was too big and I just couldn't get in there at all. So I just decided to take the T off and just paint the whole spot where the T was going to go. And actually, while the paint was still wet, I put the T back on and it stuck really well. So, you know, in the end, it worked out. It was a little bit frustrating. And we're going over it with Mod Podge anyways, so the whole thing will stick no problem. It worked out though. It was super cute. And there we go. All right, so taking another strip of that contact paper from Dollarama, just lining it up at the top. I had already used the corner cutter to round out the edges, and we're going to make it look sort of like the black is on top of the wood. So taking some of this braided rope, I'm just going to hot glue it onto the front there, and then wrap it around the back and hot glue the ends to the back. And we're going to do that to both edges of the black paint. So you can see how it kind of looks like the black is on top of the wood. And again, hot gluing it to the back, and perfect. And taking a little bit more of this braided rope, we're going to go around the handle of the cutting board. I believe I went around it 3 times just to give it that extra detail at the top. I love this braided rope. It's from Amazon. It's really, really nice. And taking my lighter, just getting rid of any strings that are hanging off. If you are going to do this, please be very careful. Do not burn yourself, obviously. And it just cleans it up so that it's nice and clean. All right. Now, one last thing. I am obsessed with these wood cutouts, you guys. I don't know. I'm using it on everything. So these little flowers, they are from Dollarama. I took some spare pieces of the rope just so that it would be the same height, because I am going to attach it on top of the rope at the bottom there, and I didn't want it to look funny, so that just gives it that extra dimension to pop off of the board. And dab that down. Sorry if you can hear the bird in the background. It's springtime. You know what goes on in springtime with the birds. So just hot gluing that flower into place. And just so you know, I did do a layer of Mod Podge over the whole thing. I just didn't show it. And one last step to make a hanger at the top of our cutting board. So just take another piece of that rope, throw a knot in it, clip it off. Gorgeous. Alright, last DIY, you guys. This one is from Munee DIY. She has an amazing channel, and I am going to take one of these bamboo turners and create an oar. I am obsessed with beach decor. I live at a beach, So this was right up my alley. Now taking some of this Cascade by Folk Art, giving it a very, very rough, light coat. I do the front and the back and all of the sides and the edges as well. But again, it's just a rough coat because this ore is going to look old and worn. And what I am going to do is tape off a few stripes at the bottom of the ore just to give it a little bit more color at the bottom. So I do a small stripe, and then there's a larger stripe you see at the very bottom of the ore. And I'm using Sage by Folk Art. It's a very, very pretty green color. And just going along the tape lines there to give it just a little bit more detail. And again, it just has to be a fairly rough coat. We're going to be sanding this thing down anyways. Make sure you get the edges. And just peel that tape off. And I just blasted it with my heat gun really quickly because I am going to do one more stripe in between those, so I didn't want the paint to be wet while I was doing that, obviously. So reusing the tape that I just used, we're going to create one more stripe, a thicker stripe, in between those two stripes. Using that pretty sage color, of course. And again, make sure that you get the edges and just peel that tape right off. Look at that, isn't it cute? Oh, looks great. So once the paint is dry, just give it a nice sand. These turners have such a nice curve on them, so it gives some great dimension after you sand them. And again, you know, it's an ore, so you want it to look really weathered and old. And get all of the edges all the way up. If you pull off a whole bunch of paint, that's okay. Again, old ore. You can see how nice and rough that looks. Looks fantastic. And we're going to take some of this twine. I believe I got this at the Dollar Tree. It's a little bit of a thicker twine. And we're going to wrap around at the, I guess, the neck of the ore. Go around, you know, 5-6 times, however far you want to go up. And hot glue it down. Make sure you trim off the excess. And we're going to want to go over that hole as well at the top. So again, with the twine, wrap it around a whole bunch of times, going down. And same thing, using your hot glue, secure that down in the back. And again, with the lighter, we're going to take off any excess strings, clean it up a little bit. All right, so this wood palette I got at Dollarama. I have a whole bunch of them actually. I haven't seen them in stock lately. I did get them quite a while ago, but I use them all the time in my DIYs. I just think they're fantastic. And I'm going to take my white paint, and we're again just going to do a really rough coat. Make it look a little bit rustic, go all the way through, and then we're going to distress it just a tiny bit with our Cascade color, just to give it a little bit of dimension and detail. Now, I am using this Oracle stencil vinyl, and we are going to put Sail Away With Me on each one of the 4 slats of the palette. And this stencil vinyl actually is amazing. It weeds so nicely. So I'm just going to take the stencil and put it onto the palette. Make sure you have your ore there just for reference to be sure that you're not covering up any of the letters or anything like that. So 1 word on each of the slats and secure that down. Sail away with me. What a cute little beach sign. Like I said, I live at a beach, so this is 100% my vibe. I guess I felt like showing you every single word that goes down. Make sure, again, line it up with your ore. I was a little bit too close to it, so put it on there for reference and then just smooth it down. And now again with our cascade and our little dabby sponge thing, we are going to fill in all of the stencils. Now I do find that it is a lot easier to pull up your stencils when your paint is still wet, because then you really don't pull up any of the paint. Now in this particular craft it wouldn't have mattered because it's supposed to look old and weathered and worn. So if you did pull up a little bit of the paint, it adds to the character of the piece for sure. But this stencil vinyl just pulls up amazingly. It's fantastic. And I love stenciling because then you don't have to worry about the color of your vinyl. You just paint it whatever color you're doing your piece in. And you can see how easily it weeds out. And of course, I am going to just take the sanding block and just, sand it down a little bit and line up my ore, take some hot glue, put it on the rope of the ore, and then just attach it to our sign. And it's all done. I just absolutely love these ores. They're so adorable. What a great way to use a bamboo turner, make it into an ore. Oh, it's fantastic. Look at that. Amazing. Love it. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching my very first Try It Tuesday video. A huge shout out to Sammie at Unicorn Dust Designs for allowing not only me, but a whole bunch of other smaller channels to be seen and to share our crafts. I will be linking all of the channels of these wonderfully talented women down below. And in the comments, maybe let me know which crafter is your favorite. And while you're down there, do me a solid. Tap that like button, maybe subscribe, tell your friends, all of that jazz. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for the gag reel. Bye, guys. Testing. Welcome back to my channel. I sound like Count Dracula. So, will you not? Will you not? Jeez Louise. The bird is going crazy again, so just saying. She's a psycho. And secondly, did you hear that? Yeah. Should I re-record that one?
You should go.
Into the and the hair.
Oh my god. You look like a saucy, menacing minx.
I like it.
So.
You know what? You should come into the screen. Come on
I'm
over.
mad.
Come on over, you chicken. She's gonna be like Wilson. All you're gonna see is just like from here up.